The movie begins in 1997, when Kamal sits alone in a barn, cursing his fate. He remembers the moment his lover, Khadija, was marrying his own brother, Hassan. Consumed by jealousy, Kamal has Hassan killed through black magic, so Khadija can be his. But the spell requires him to sacrifice Hassan's first child. Now, the time has come to sacrifice the child, but Kamal no longer wants to go through with it. Just then, a jinn appears, claims the child is his, and suddenly disappears. With no other choice, Kamal takes Salih to sacrifice him. His heart breaks as he helplessly holds the child and, forcing himself to go through with it, begins strangling him. Moments later, he finally snaps Salih's neck, killing him. But as the shock fades, Kamal looks at what he has done and is consumed by regret, realizing he has made a terrible mistake. Meanwhile, an old woman wakes Khadija and delivers the devastating news. She tells her that Kamal has killed Salih and then taken his own life. The movie then shifts to 2022, where Damla admits to a friend, Ebro, that she mostly takes her pills out of habit, even though she no longer feels they help or work. Ebro tells her that one of her clients at the bank mentioned a man, and she believes he might be able to help her. Later, while Damla is in the elevator, someone suddenly starts knocking on the door, even though the lift is moving upward. The lights then go out, so she quickly turns on her phone's flashlight. Just then, a voice calls out Baris's name, and a jinn appears, saying, "I have never seen you before." The lights come back on, the jinn disappears, and it becomes clear that these disturbing visions are why Damla has been taking medication. She tries to make Jim understand that she's tired of being treated like a patient, but he doesn't believe her, and simply tells her to go to sleep, to which she gets frustrated and asks him to leave. Damla visits Noor, the man Ebro told her about, and tells him everything. He asks her if she knows the boy, and she says no, but he spoke as if he knew her. He then asks if she has faith, explaining that without faith, he cannot help her. When Damla says she does, he brings an old woman before her, and Damla is stunned to see her. He reveals that she is her mother, and tells Damla to look into her eyes. He places Damla's hand in her mother's, and tells her that the truth is hidden in the darkness. He warns Damla not to be afraid, or her nightmare will come true. Soon, her mother's eyes change, and Noor tells Damla that someone has been praying for her and protecting her, but their strength is running out. When she asks who they are, he says only she can find out. He then tells her about those who wait their entire lives to claim what they believe is theirs, warning that they can become the worst calamities. When Damla asks what he means, he simply tells her that she will find out. That night, Jim gets angry at Damla for seeking a cure from a sorcerer when countless doctors couldn't help her. He questions how someone like her, who knows better, can believe such things. But Damla says desperation can make people believe anything. She feels like those patients in movies who see things no one else can, making everyone think they're crazy. Jim tells her he's going to Bursa for his monthly meeting for a week and asks her to come along, saying the change might do her good. But Damla says she has work that weekend. Later, Damla has a disturbing dream where a jinn in Salih's form leans toward the old woman and whispers something into her ear. Moments later, they both suddenly turn toward Damla, jolting her awake. She immediately opens her laptop and searches for Baris, discovering that it is a disease that causes patches or spots to appear on the body. She then checks her arm and finds a patch there. Elsewhere, in an old abandoned house, a woman wanders around in chains, with countless photographs covering the walls around her. The next day, after Jim leaves, Damla receives a call from Ebro, who tells her that Noor's mother died the previous night. She explains that Noor had called her and asked her to tell Damla that her mother had talked about her before she died, and that Noor wants Damla to visit a certain village. Desperate for answers, she finally reaches Baris village, but as she enters the village, a display stand suddenly topples over inside a house, jolting a woman awake. Damla rents a house to stay in, where a man named Vessel tells her that only 3 or 4 people still live in the village, as most left due to financial difficulties. However, many people still come and go during the summer to see the old graves on the mountain. Before leaving, he warns her to stay away from the upstairs area and tells her to get some rest. Later, curious about the top floor, Damla heads upstairs and approaches a curtain when her phone suddenly rings, slipping from her hand. Meanwhile, Khadija's brother Sidat shows Khadija her reflection in a mirror, telling her that the misfortune she brought upon others has now befallen her as well. He says she has been staring at these photographs for years, so she never forgets the faces of those who died because of her blasphemy. He then shows her the mirror again, saying he has written their names on each picture. Later that night, Damla wakes up hearing strange voices, as if several people are arguing, and before she can make sense of it, several figures suddenly appear. Damla is terrified at the sight of them, and as they begin moving toward her, she quickly runs out of the house. But the strange voices continue to follow her. Desperate to get away, she runs farther and spots a house in the distance, with someone's voice coming from inside. She runs past it as well, but suddenly a jinn appears right in front of her, making her jolt awake. The next morning, when Vessel asks if she needs anything, Damla tells him that she lost her way the previous night and ended up on another road, where she saw a huge scarecrow. She asks if he knows where the place is, and he tells her it's toward the forest from the village entrance, but warns her that it's not safe because there are wild animals around. Damla visits the place anyway and starts recording everything on her phone, but a woman suddenly tells her that they are coming and that time is running out. She says there is no way to survive because they are invisible and unknown. She then points toward a house and tells Damla to go there, but when Damla turns around, the woman is walking away in the distance, murmuring something to herself. Damla continues recording as she heads toward the house, but Sidat suddenly startles her and apologizes for that. He then asks if she is staying at Vessel's hostel, and she introduces herself as a journalist working for a news agency and says she came to investigate the ancient tombs on the hill. He asks what she is doing there, saying that the graves are at the top of the hill, and when Damla mentions the house, he warns her that the area isn't safe and advises her not to go too far from the village. He explains that there are many wolves and foxes around these days, and even the hotel owner doesn't dare to come here. That night, Damla watches the recording on her phone and carefully listens to what the woman was saying to her. Meanwhile, Khadija sits there in tears, staring at a photograph of her husband and son, when Sidat enters the room with some food for her. She asks him what she will do if they come after her again, but he coldly tells her that she deserves this punishment. He says that every time he comes here, he prays that he will find her dead, because people have lost their lives because of her. He then asks her how she can expect to find peace after everything she has done. Later that night, Damla follows a strange noise upstairs, where she notices a photograph inside one of the rooms, but when she turns around, her own reflection is reflected in the glass. She then scans the room, but when she turns back toward the photograph, she suddenly realizes that the woman in it looks just like her. Just then, a terrifying sound echoes through the room, frightening her badly, and when she turns around again, the photograph has mysteriously disappeared. She then hears another sound, as if someone is repeatedly knocking on a door. Slowly, she makes her way toward the room, and, the moment she opens the door, something suddenly pulls her inside. As she gets back on her feet, the jinn are standing all around her in the darkness. Damla can't see them, but as she looks around the room, they silently watch her from every direction. She notices a family photograph lying on the floor, picks it up, and when she turns it over, finds 1997 written on the back. The next morning, Damla shows the photo to Vessel, who tells her about the family's tragic fate. Kamal loved Khadija, and Hassan also loved her and wanted to marry her. According to the village tradition, the eldest son had to marry first, so Hassan married Khadija despite her wishes, but he died within a year, after which Khadija was married to Kamal. Kamal soon began behaving strangely and even tried to kill Khadija twice, and then one night, he killed Hassan's child before taking his own life. Khadija was pregnant at the time, but after giving birth, she went mad and started talking to jinns. The child was born with a strange disease and died a few days later, after which she was buried beside Salia's grave. Vessel says Khadija had gotten involved in dark practices to achieve perfection, and one morning, she mysteriously disappeared. Villagers believed the jinn had taken her away for black magic, but despite everyone searching for her, she was never found. When Damla asks about their father, Vessel says grief drove him mad, and he killed his wife before taking his own life. Later, Damla visits Sidat and asks him what connection the abandoned house has with Khadija. Sidat dismisses Vessel as crazy, saying those events happened a long time ago and she shouldn't worry about them. As he turns to leave, Damla says she's only trying to understand what happened, but Sidat warns her to leave the area before something bad happens to her. That night, Khadija is staring at the photographs on the wall as the jinns haunt her in the forms of her family members, leaving her completely broken. Meanwhile, Sidat confronts Vessel and tells him to stay silent about the family, warning him not to reveal anything to the girl. When Vessel returns home, he tells his mother that Sidat slapped him. Hanifa tells him not to be upset, saying Sidat is his uncle and only disciplined him a little. Sidat takes Khadija to her children's graves and tells her that this will be the last time. Khadija breaks down as she talks to her daughter, apologizing for leaving her there alone. She says if only she could hold her in her arms and kiss her forehead, she wouldn't need anything else in the world. She then wonders what punishment could be worse than this. Turning towards Salih's grave, she apologizes, saying she hasn't been able to fulfill any of her duties as his mother. She then gets up and tells Sidat that every time he came here, he wished for her death, but asks him what death could possibly mean compared to this. Later, as Sidat is returning home, he hears strange noises, and when he turns around, he spots a figure in the distance. He nervously continues walking, but when he looks back again, the figure has disappeared. However, the next moment, he suddenly finds himself inside a grave, with animal bones scattered all around him. Terrified, Sidat starts reciting prayers and tries to climb out, but a jinn is standing outside the grave. He quickly gets up and tries to escape from the other side, only to find the same jinn standing there as well, now much closer to the grave. Gathering his courage, Sidat peeks out of the grave again, but this time, the jinn has disappeared. Relieved, he tries to climb out once more, but the jinn suddenly starts moving toward him, causing him to fall back again. Sidat quickly gets up, only to hear some strange noises right behind him, and when he turns around, he sees the jinn pulling bones out of the wall. Before Sidat can do anything, the jinn turns toward him, but in the next moment, Sidat suddenly finds himself outside the grave, with the jinn nowhere to be seen. Damla makes her way upstairs and pulls the cloth aside, only to notice something horrifying. The wooden surface behind it appears to be breathing. Shocked by what she sees, she slowly steps back, but loses her footing and tumbles down the stairs. The next morning, Vessel finds Damla unconscious on the stairs. He tries to wake her, but when she doesn't respond, he calls Sidat's wife, Fatima, and asks her to come over. At the same time, Hanifa visits the old woman and tells her that she heard a voice saying it was time for atonement. The old woman turns toward her and orders her to leave and never come back. She says the sacrifice was rejected and pushes Hanifa, but before leaving, Hanifa curses her, saying she will rot and die. Meanwhile, Fatima checks Damla's vitals and tells her that her blood pressure is low. But the moment she notices the patch on Damla's arm, she is visibly horrified, and without saying another word, she leaves. Later, when Fatima is alone at home, she suddenly sees Khadija coming down the stairs, and the sight terrifies her. But the woman walking down the stairs isn't actually Khadija. It's a terrifying jinn taking her form, and it looks furious. Right behind it is another jinn disguised as Sidat. Both of them begin moving toward Fatima, and before she can do anything, one of the jinn reaches into her mouth, grabs her tongue, and starts pulling it out. They say anyone who hides a sin is a devil himself. Questioning what use her tongue is if she refuses to speak the truth, the jinn then tears out her tongue, but she suddenly jolts awake and realizes the whole thing was just a nightmare. That night, Damla accidentally drops her phone under the bed, and as she bends down to grab it, a room's door slowly swings open, revealing Salih sitting inside and whispering something, but the next moment, he disappears. Damla bends down again, only to see Salih now walking toward her, but as soon as she lifts her head, he vanishes again. She bends down one more time, and Salih is back inside the room, whose door slowly starts closing on its own. As Damla gets up, Kemal tells her that he made a mistake in 2011, but suddenly, someone starts banging on the door, and Kemal disappears. Damla opens the door, and Fatima immediately tells her to leave the place. When Damla asks why, Fatima tells her not to ask. Damla insists that if she knows something, she should tell her, but Fatima says she can't, and desperately begs her to leave. Meanwhile, A jinn suddenly appears at Vessel's house, and before Vessel reacts, the jinn lunges at him. The next moment, he wakes Miriam and shows her a photograph, saying this isn't his father. He then says C. punished Khadija, asking who will punish her, but she suddenly wakes again, only to find no one there. She quickly rushes to Vessel's room to check on him, only to find him dead. She goes to see that, and finally admits that she was responsible for everything, revealing that she was the one who brought the curse. When Sidat asks what she means, she tells him that she had loved Hassan very much. In a flashback, Hanifa tells Hassan that her father doesn't have enough money to give him a dowry, but Hassan tells her that he never promised to marry her. Hanifa then says she told everything to Khadija, who was actually happy to hear it because she loved Kamal. They dreamed of becoming wives in the same family, but that dream never came true. Hanifa saw Hassan as a traitor, though she ignored her doubts at the time. Since Hassan loved Khadija dearly, he told his father about his feelings for her. Kamal went crazy with jealousy, but there was nothing he could do. Hanifa then reveals that Hassan's baby was actually in her womb, something Vessel never knew because he never knew his real father. Eventually, Hassan and Khadija got married, leaving both Hanifa and Kamal furious enough to want Hassan dead. One day, Hanifa met Kemal, who wanted to move on from his hatred, but Hanifa was determined to avenge Hassan's betrayal. The two of them went to a shaman, who agreed to kill Hassan through black magic. But there was one condition. They had to sacrifice Hassan's first child before he turned 7. She warned them that if the sacrifice wasn't made, everyone involved in the crime would face a terrible punishment. Hanifa says that when her son died, Kamal finally got what he wanted, and even he slipped out of her hands. That's when she decided Khadija should suffer the greatest pain too. And she got exactly what she wanted. Khadija ended up burying both her children in the dirt. But then, fear began creeping into Hanifa's mind, as she started feeling that Khadija knew everything. So she blamed Khadija instead, telling everyone that she had cast a spell on Hassan and Kamal. Hanifa continues that Nurjahan had lost both her sons and 2 grandchildren, and was desperate to find someone to blame, so she believed Hanifa's story. Sidat is furious after hearing all this, and Hanifa then tells him that recently, everyone has started seeing them every night. She went to the shaman for answers, who told her that the jinn had not accepted the sacrifice. Kamal was supposed to kill Hassan's first child, and although he killed Salih, the curse never went away because Hassan's first child was actually Vessel. Fatima has also heard everything and says she had remained silent all these years out of fear, but she has nothing to be afraid of anymore. She says she will go and tell Khadija the truth, adding that Hanifa and Sidat will rot in the dungeons just like Khadija. Meanwhile, Damla goes upstairs once again, and this time, the wooden planks suddenly break apart and fall to the ground, as if some invisible presence wants her to show the truth. Damla then follows a female voice coming from behind one of the doors. But suddenly, the door behind her opens, revealing Khadija giving birth to a baby. To Damla's horror, she notices the same patch on the baby's arm that she has on her own arm, making her realize that this baby is actually her. As the women look toward Damla and say that it is her, the door suddenly slams shut. Then the second door opens, revealing Hanifa telling Sidat that Khadija had bewitched Hassan so that she could marry Kamal. This is followed by a third door opening, where Sidat tells Khadija that her baby is cursed and must be killed. He then takes the baby away from Khadija against her will, intending to kill it. After that, a fourth door opens, revealing the horrifying fate of Hassan and Kamal's parents. Their father first shoots his own wife and kills her, and then turns the gun on himself and takes his own life. After this, Damla spots Salih, and she follows him as he walks out of the house. Sidat tries to stop Fatima, warning her that he will kill her and Khadija too, but Fatima says he can't do anything to Khadija, because if he could have killed her, he would have done it back then. Fatima tells him that those who separate children from their mothers will never succeed. In a flashback, Sidat is shown burying Damla alive, when Khadija reminds him that he is a man who knows the word of God. And hearing this, Sidat spares Damla's life. Back in the present, Fatima tells Sidat that he made his own sister rot in the dungeons, because he is sick, and has no faith in God either. Furious, Sidat starts strangling her, saying that he wasted 25 years suffering because of her, and demanding to know who will pay for all of it. After a while, Fatima dies, and as Sidat's anger finally settles, he realizes that he has made a terrible mistake. Just then, a jinn suddenly appears and pushes him back before disappearing. Before Sadat can even understand what is happening, he sees Damla, and the jinns tell him that the sacrifice was not accepted. They then throw a rope toward him and say, "Where Salih died." Meanwhile, Hanifa enters Vessel's room and sits beside him, quietly crying. But the moment she touches him, Vessel suddenly grabs her hand and kills her as well. Damla continues following Salih until he suddenly stops and points toward a house. But when she turns back to look at him again, he has already disappeared. Damla enters the house and finally meets her mother. Khadija doesn't recognize her at first, but the moment Damla shows her the mark on her arm, Khadija breaks down in tears. Because all these years, she believed her daughter had died. She then walks out of the house, with Damla following close behind, only to find her crying in front of a grave. Khadija finally realizes that her daughter is alive, and the two of them tightly embrace each other, crying after being separated for so many years. But their happiness doesn't last long, as Sadat suddenly puts a rope around Damla's neck and starts dragging her away. Khadija desperately tries to stop him, but Sadat tells her that she is the reason all of this happened before kicking her and knocking her to the ground. He takes Damla to the same tree where Kamal had taken his own life and hangs her from it, trying to kill her the same way. Khadija helplessly watches as Sadat pulls Damla up and begs him to let her go, but Sadat is completely consumed by his anger. After a while, as life slowly leaves Damla's body, Sadat releases the rope, causing her lifeless body to fall to the ground. But as Sadat tries to get back up, Khadija suddenly strikes him in the back with an axe, killing him. She then picks up Damla and carries her away, while countless jinns silently watch them from a distance. After they have gone some distance, a strange sound suddenly echoes, and Damla comes back to life, leaving the mystery of what exactly saved her unresolved.